Life is full of work and stress. Parenting can be a mess. Being a woman is hard enough without adding on that extra stuff. We'll cover topics of every kind. Helpful resources we will find. We'll even drink a bottle of wine. Join us. It will be a real good time. Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Nikki.
And welcome to Working Mom's Whine, where we drink a bottle of wine
and whine about our crazy, busy, stressful working mom lives while trying to gather some resources that might help you and us at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And no, we are not cartoon characters. We are wearing the same outfits and we are drinking the same thing because we are recording 2 in one day because it's been very hard to get together lately because we are crazy, busy working moms.
Yep. It's a lot to coordinate.
And today we are going to kick off Micky Mouse March.
My favorite. For those who can't see, I'm wearing my We Don't Talk About Bruno shirt. I sadly did not plan ahead enough to wear mouse ears.
I know.
Next week, I'll get you guys. Promise.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how my ears are packed.
Oh,
probably.
I got extras. I'll bring a pair for you.
You know, because I thought I was going to move, and yes, I am still whining about that. Hasn't happened. I do have a very diligent realtor who keeps checking in with that seller.
Yeah.
And we could look at other houses. I just really like this one, so we're kind of waiting to see what happens. But
hanging out.
Yeah. Today, for week 1 of Micky Mouse March, we're going to whine about how vacations oftentimes don't feel like a vacation when you're a parent. And then we are going to talk a little bit about taking a vacation to Disney, some of the aspects there, some tips there, and we'll sprinkle those throughout the next few weeks.
And these are some great episodes to throw in some comments and questions.
Mm-hmm.
We've been to Disney a lot.
A lot.
And I spend a majority of my free time watching other people go to Disney on videos for fun because I miss it so much all the time.
Yep. Disney FOMO is real.
We know a lot of stuff. Hit us up. Yep. And we're not drinking wine today. We're still on our mimosas kick.
That's right.
So get over it.
We do have some interesting wines in the wings, though.
We do.
So Nikki was showing me a couple she picked up, and I'm really looking forward to the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But with vacations, oftentimes when you're taking children, it feels like not a vacation.
Stressful.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah. You think it's going to be this really awesome Hallmark moment where you and the kids go on an amazing core memory vacation that you're going to remember forever. And that will happen. You'll build some great memories. It will be fun while you're there, but it's also a lot of work getting everyone down there, getting everyone back, squeezing it in whatever time you can squeeze everything in.
Yeah.
And often when you're going to places like Disney, this might be a once-in-a-lifetime trip for you. And so you feel really pressured to do everything that you can.
Yeah, to fit everything in, to plan it just right, to make all the right decisions. And there's so much about planning a trip to Disney that has to happen in advance. If there are certain things you want to do, if there are certain meals you want to have, you have to know way before 60 days in advance. And even then you still might not get them.
Yep.
You know, different experiences, special experiences and things like that.
Yep.
Now, all this to say, you can just buy a ticket if there's one available for that day and walk in and still have a magnificent time.
Yeah.
But if there are specific experiences you want to have and do, a lot of those require prior reservations.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about all those kinds of things and all the tips and tricks of how to get into that.
That's right.
But yeah, like the planning, even just deciding to go on vacation, first you have to financially plan ahead for that.
Yep.
You also have to be able to take off time from work. And I don't know about everybody's job, but in mine, because I manage a caseload, I have to prep it in a way where I get everybody taken care of before. And then I have to come in to a mountain load of work to try to catch everybody back up. There's nobody that just maintains my caseload while I'm gone. They only work on cases that I couldn't push out, like maybe someone hasn't discharged yet, you know, or an emergency crisis that comes up. So other than that, I'm just trying to squeeze everybody in, and then I get my vacation, and then I come back and it's like I have to do everybody all at once. So I have like 2-3 really crazy weeks to just take a vacation.
That's what I really liked about my job. I would say it's not necessarily the case as much now that I'm in charge of other people. But when it was just
me being the peon myself, as long as I wrapped up all my loose ends before I left, it usually wasn't a big deal. I did have one situation where a file had come back. We help people with their credit if they don't qualify so that they can then buy when they come back. And back in the day when they came back, they would come back to us and we had to work them up and send them on to a loan officer. So there was one that came in while I was gone, and I had taken my laptop with me because I felt like maybe there would be a moment where I would want to clear out the millions of emails I knew were going to come in that I was going to, there's so many emails I get that I don't even need to look at. So
flashbacks.
Yeah. So it's like, maybe I'll clear my emails out when I have time here and there while we're on the road, whatever, because we drive instead of fly. So that had come in and I had to get that taken care of while I was gone. But for the most part, in the position that I'm in, you talk with people initially, they go to a loan officer, and you never see them again. So by the time you've wrapped something up and sent it on to a loan officer, you know that your part of that is done. So as long as you set a message that you're going to be out of the office, it doesn't really matter once you leave the office.
Yeah.
Now that I have people under me, I do feel like it's a little more difficult to just leave work behind. Like, they know that I'm going to be gone, and they're very good about not bothering me. Like on our last vacation, I just assumed I was going to be getting contacted the entire time, and they pretty much left me alone the entire week. Like, my lieutenant took care of everything. It was great.
Yeah.
But there is more of that feeling of, okay, I have to make sure there's going to be people around to help my team out. I have to make sure that I have things in place for if a teammate goes on a vacation at the same time. I don't want them CCing me on these emails, because I also won't be in little things like that. But it's not near as much work as what you have to put in when you're trying to leave town. I have it relatively easy.
And I'm also like managing different accounts. Each account has to have a different person cover it. So it's like, to take even just one day of PTO, I have to get like 7 people to say yes. Oof. So to take an entire week, it really takes some coordination.
Yeah.
And I, have to work really hard to pick a time that nobody else is going to be gone. You were talking about taking your laptop with you. That
Yes.
reminded me, the second time I was laid off at my job, I was laid off on my birthday, which was also
That's right.
the first day of my planned Disney trip. And so
I remember that conversation. Do I still go?
I was like, do I still go? And people were mostly like, well, yeah, because you already bought the hotel, the tickets. Yeah. Like, you can't cancel that stuff and get your money back. But also, I had planned this trip with a girlfriend and a boyfriend. I was going to split the week. I traveled up with my girlfriend, and we spent a few days, and then she left, and my boyfriend joined me, and we spent the rest of the week.
And it was good stress relief, probably.
It was. But I did wind up taking my laptop with me because the way that I handle stress, anxiety, is to take action, make a plan, and move on it immediately. If I feel like I'm taking steps, then I feel so much better about it, and I can actually like let go on other things. So I took my laptop, and before I got on the plane that day, I had applied for unemployment. And on the plane, I was working on my resume. And in the room each night, I was applying to jobs and posting on LinkedIn that I had been let go. And by the time I left that week, I had a couple interviews scheduled, and, it worked out well. But I was definitely doing a lot of work-related things on that trip.
And that probably made it feel less like a vacation.
It did a little bit. My boyfriend was really good at giving me the space to do what I needed to do, but also reminding me, like, it's going to be okay. Put the computer down, enjoy yourself.
That's good. It's good to have people like that.
Yeah. So the first thing we want to talk about when discussing how planning a vacation and all of these things can be so stressful and can really be rough is something that not everyone might know specifically about a Disney vacation, but also other vacations, I think, can fall into this category. You can hire a vacation planner.
You sure can.
And you don't pay them a penny out of your pocket.
That's right.
At least not the Disney ones. I don't know if that's true for everything else.
No, some travel agents, vacation planners, you do end up paying for their services, but 100% through Disney, it will always be free to you.
Yes.
Although I do recommend showing your appreciation through a tip or a gift card or something.
Yes. So if you ever want to take part in that, a quick Google search will give you anybody. There's also, of course, tons of them on TikTok and places like that. But you can join Facebook groups about Walt Disney World vacation planning, or, there's a million groups about it. And you can just go in and make a post and say, hey, I'm looking for a Disney vacation planner. Who do you use that you love?
Yep.
And get recommendations that way. but they will help you know all the deadlines and keep track of them, coordinate it. If a deal comes up after you've booked, they can make those changes for you so you get the cheaper rates.
That's the best part.
Yeah, because Disney has a lot of deals that come and go,
Yeah.
and a lot of them come really quickly before you'd have to use it. So you could plan your vacation like a year in advance, and then it's like 2 months away and suddenly a deal has come up, and you might not even know about it, but your travel agent will.
The last travel agent I had, she contacted me before we were going on the trip, and she's like, they just released this deal. I'm going to look and see if it will lower your costs for you at all. And she researched it, and I don't think we ended up changing anything based on that particular deal.
Yeah.
But just the fact that
she was out.
Yeah, she was looking out, and she let me know that she was looking out. And she's also been, ever since our vacation, and I'm sure, she wants repeat business, of course, but she always reaches out when there's something going on, or when we initially started talking about the next trip that we're going to take, even though it's a little farther out, I was like, I know this is too far out right now to start the actual planning, but I wanted to let you know that this is the season we are thinking of going in. This is a couple of things we've talked about doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to put this on your radar so that when we get close enough to start booking things, we can do that. And I have what am I thinking?
Confidence.
Yeah. I have every confidence that she's going to reach out in the days leading up to when we can start the process and be like, hey, I remember you mentioning this to me, because I know that she's on top of it.
Yeah.
Which is going to be great.
Yes. It's nice to take that piece off your plate whenever you can, especially as a working mom.
Yes. And you can work as a team. A lot of the things at Disney are difficult to book, especially like you might get one or two things and not all the things you wanted. And that's just how it is. But if your travel agent is up there and you are also up there and you're trying to reserve things at the same time and you split it up, oftentimes you can get more done.
Mm-hmm.
So
very true. Yeah, there's a lot of dining experiences you have to reserve, your room, of course, and your tickets. But also there's other experiences, like if you want to go to Star Wars and build a droid or, things like that. So there's a lot to coordinate, and some of them have different dates. Like you can do it 60 days before or 30 days before. It depends if you stay on a resort or not, and like all these rules. And a lot of them have been changing rapidly since COVID.
This is true.
As everything shut down and then slowly reopened, and things have changed a lot. So they are educated on that. They take trips with their employer to learn about the new things and see the new things and keep up to date on how all those little rules work. So
it's one of the things that makes me think about getting into that, is I'm like, oh, but then they get to go to Disney too.
I think about that all the time, because I have a lot of the knowledge that I could just put into practice.
We're just going to turn into Disney vloggers.
I just don't know about the, they wake up at the crack of dawn to call and make reservations for people and things like that. And I'm like, I'm not a morning person. That might not, that's so hot for me.
Just stay up all night. No.
There you go. But yes, use a Disney vacation planner.
Yes.
Even if you're just doing the most basic of things and you want them to book your room and your tickets, they get a cut. A lot of Disney travel agents are just working parents with small businesses.
Right.
So, even if you don't need a lot of help, it helps a small business.
Exactly. And do the research beforehand. I've had some that were great. I've had some that were so hands-off that I might as well have planned it myself.
Yeah.
So definitely go with someone who's got a good reputation for themselves. Chances are you have a family member who does it. That's great if you want to support your family member, but look into them as how they operate as a business partner too. Make sure that they're going to be meeting the needs that you have, because otherwise that could cause some bad feelings. And then you've got that going on with a family member. That didn't happen with us. I'm just saying,
just things to be considered about.
Exactly. Like just life advice in general.
So we want to talk about resorts when you're traveling to Disney. Now, when we say Disney, all of my experience is Walt Disney World.
Yeah, let's
Florida.
keep that in mind. We're only going to be experienced with World.
I know people who have gone to Disneyland and who live in that area, and they rave about the Disneyland hotels, and they're within walking distance of the entrance gate for both DCA and Disneyland. So it's not as complicated over there. The property isn't as big.
Right.
That kind of stuff. So most of our knowledge is about Walt Disney World.
Yes. Which is a lot more spread out.
Yes. They have just more parks, more properties, more resorts, more everything.
That's one of the reasons why Walt made Walt Disney World, was he knew that Disneyland was going to be hemmed in
Yeah.
a lot. And he looked at a few different areas before he decided on Orlando. And St. Louis was one of them. And only if things had been different, we could be annual pass holders, no problem.
Dang.
I know. But
Anyway.
it is more space over there.
And better weather year round. Like, if they had to deal with
From
snow,
St. Louis, yeah. That's fair.
I don't even know.
Yeah. So, obviously, depending on your finances, you might want to stay what they call on campus at an actual Disney resort, or you might be looking at off-campus hotels. And we'll have some tips too on how to find like some good deals, savings, things like that down the road. But if you're staying on campus at a Disney resort, there are often some perks that come along with that.
Yes.
They have extra magic hours where you can go into the park early. And if you do that, just know that that doesn't mean that you should get up and give yourself like 20 minutes to get into the park. Even if you can ride
very crowded.
the Skyliner or whatever. Make sure that you are leaving way early. Especially if you're trying to rope drop something, which we will talk about later too. But there's a lot of really fun resorts at different pricing levels. And I thought it would just be fun to go over the different ones that we've stayed in. We've only really stayed in the one.
I've stayed in a few. So there's moderate and deluxe resorts. Is there one
and
other
value?
Level? Value. Yeah. Value, moderate, deluxe. And so the value resorts they're the cheapest ones, of course. All the All-Stars, All-Star movies, All-Star music, All-Star sports.
And I was a little biased against those. And just in general, when I look at a hotel that I'm staying in, cheap is not usually good. There's usually things like bed bugs.
Well, there are things to be aware of for these. There has been a bed bug problem once at one of the All-Stars.
Well, I was about to say it was a better experience than I thought it was going to be. But yeah. So
Disney is responsive to those things.
Yes.
So when they happen, they get taken care of.
Yes. And don't write off the value resorts. The theming is probably better than a lot of the higher priced resorts. Like, they're still fun and they still have a theme to them. But the Art of Animation, for instance, has some really great play areas for the kids to run through, some really cool looking statues. The pools are really fun. And the rooms, the theming in the rooms are amazing, especially if you get like a family suite.
If you have really young kids, Art of Animation would be my number one recommendation of where to stay.
And you can walk around to the different areas because there's like Lion King and Cars and
they're themed
Little
after
Mermaid.
Different movies, and there's giant statues of the characters you can take pictures with, and the pool has a splash pad, which other pools don't.
Yeah.
So if you have a really little kid, that's really nice. The All-Star and Art of Animation are the only ones with family suites, where there's, more than one room kind of and two bathrooms. I think the All-Star ones only have one bathroom, but the family suites at Art of Animation have two bathrooms.
Which was an absolute necessity for me. That's why I stayed there. I was like, we are going to have two bathrooms. All-Star is sports themed, right?
One of them is, yeah. There's sports, music, and movies.
Okay, so they're all called All-Star.
Yeah.
So they have a sports-themed campus, a music-themed campus, a movie-themed campus, Art of Animation,
Pop Century. And then you're moving into the more moderate to deluxe.
What's the theming to Pop Century?
Pop Century is about the different centuries. So there's a 60s,
that makes
70s,
sense.
and 80s. And the rooms are very modern inside. They were updated in the last few years. So, but the beautiful thing about Pop Century and Art of Animation is that they are on a Skyliner stop.
Yes.
And the Skyliner is the easiest way to get around Disney.
And so fun.
Yes. But it doesn't go to Animal Kingdom. So you do have to still take a bus that way. But that's something to think about when you're picking a resort, is which parks are you going to spend the most of your time at, and which resorts are closest to those parks.
Yep.
Because there's a really cool resort near Animal Kingdom where you can see the safari from your window, and you can see the animals out there.
I want to stay there sometime
if you get that view room. But it's far away from every other park. So if you're not a big Animal Kingdom person, it's probably not going to be the best spot for you. And it's certainly not the cheapest. But I've stayed in All-Star Music. I've stayed in Art of Animation. I've stayed in Pop Century and in the Caribbean.
When you did Pop Century, which one did you do? Do you get to choose the century you're in?
No, they just assign it to you. I don't even remember.
That's not as fun.
I
don't want to end up with the 80s. No offense. I was born in the 80s, but it's not my favorite style music era.
Yeah. I didn't really feel like that one was super themey. Like there was stuff on the outside of the buildings, but
gotcha.
I don't even really remember much of the theme of those.
Yeah. They also have campgrounds and things like that. Mm-hmm. And everywhere that you go so far that I've experienced, they have fun activities here and there for the kids to do. Like when we went, it was in December, and they had like campsite s'mores that you could have one night. Or, of course, there's different places where people will stand with pins at the resort, and you can trade for pins at the resort, things like that. So maybe they'll have, some places have the animation classes, things like that.
Yeah.
I think there was an arcade.
Yeah, there's an arcade. There's an arcade in most of them, and if you do moderate or above, then there's a hot tub with the pool.
Sold.
So that's good to know.
My favorite part about check-in at Art of Animation was that there was a little side room that you could clearly see from the check-in line that played Disney movies. So you could say,
of them have that now.
Oh, that's brilliant. Here, children, go watch this movie while your father and I check in. So.
I can't speak to All-Star because I haven't been in that lobby in a long time.
Yeah.
But, yes, Art of Animation and Pop Century and I don't think the Caribbean one.
Brilliant.
Caribbean Beach, I don't think they had one there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's very smart. But I actually never stand in the check-in line. I do it on my phone through the My Disney Experience app.
Yeah, see, I was on-campus newbie last time, so. No, I think we had an issue with the app. That's why I ended up in the line. So
if there's an issue, you gotta stand in line.
Yeah, but they're very good at what they do, like Chick-fil-A levels of good at getting you through the line. So, so we have the Caribbean one. Is Coronado different?
Yeah.
Okay, so Coronado's a little more pirate themed. There's the Port Orleans.
Yeah, Port Orleans has French Quarter, and what's the other one?
I don't know, but it's also got like that room with like the princess theming.
Yeah,
right?
Port Orleans is split into basically 2-in-1 resorts, and one side is all like New Orleans themed, and both of them really are. But the other side has special Princess Tiana themed rooms.
Yeah,
that are really, really cute inside, very ornate and decorated, and like just over the top.
There's some really fun special effects in some of those rooms with pictures and lights and things. So that would be a fun thing to search on YouTube sometimes, people who have gone into those rooms and turned various things on and off. And then you can get a look at the space too.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good YouTube videos where they go in and they show you the different kinds of rooms and the different resorts, and they talk about the price differences and stuff too. Yeah. So if you're ever curious about that, there's lots of good info online.
There are some higher end ones, like are the Dolphin and Swan considered higher end?
Well, they are considered higher end, but they're not considered an official Disney resort.
Okay.
And they are within walking distance of Epcot.
And they're going to look more like a normal hotel.
Yeah.
But they
still have the Disney gift shop inside, but it looks more...
What's the one with the gingerbread house in it?
The Grand Floridian.
Thank you. The Grand Floridian is one that I would like to stay at sometime, just because I'm the kind of person that wants to do everything once. And it looks fun, and it doesn't look outright as Disney-ish. Like, it's not going to have a lot of the fun, cartoonish designs. But what it does a little bit remind me of is like a Mary Poppins type deal.
Yes.
So,
in fact, she used to have a breakfast meal there.
Oh, well, there we go.
That's where I met her.
I think that would be a very fun thing if you ever, like, say you have a daughter and you take a girls trip or whatever, and when the kids are older, like when they're younger, enjoy all the really cool scenery of the value and the moderate resorts, and then when they're older, maybe you take like a fancy trip if you want to do that. So,
and there's always, kid-friendly elements to every resort because it's Disney. There's no resort you're going to go to, no matter how fancy at Disney, that kids aren't expected or allowed or appreciated in.
Yeah.
But there are ones that are just themed more towards what they're into when they're really young.
Right.
And ones that have other things. Like there's hotels along the boardwalk, and the boardwalk has cool dining. It's got a dance piano club.
Yeah.
And, they have like street entertainers out sometimes.
That's so fun.
Yeah. Like all kinds of like family fun boardwalky kind of entertainment, you know. So if you had older kids or preteens, teenagers, that kind of stuff, it might be a more fun area for them.
That's right.
So
I'm not as experienced at the Disney Vacation Club setup, so maybe you can talk more about that.
Yeah.
But they essentially have their own version of a timeshare.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't choose to participate in that program, you can rent points from people who do, and then you can stay in those properties as well.
Yeah. So it's called DVC, Disney Vacation Club. And basically, like she said, it's the timeshare kind of thing where you pay a lot up front and you have a home resort and you can, you know, book your resort stays for your vacations. But the way that you book your room is with points. Mm-hmm. So when you purchase your package, you get so many points every year. And if you're not going to use them, you can go to these sites and sell them to people to be used, rent them, you know. So the website I know about is David's Vacation Club. So it's also DVC.
I was going to say.
And it's just at DVC Rentals on social media. And they have lots of great videos that teach you all about how it works, explain it step by step, and show you how to use it. But it's a great way to stay at the more expensive resorts for a cheaper rate. But it also has some cons. You can't use the dining plan that way. If you stay on resort, you have the option now to utilize the dining plan. But because you're renting somebody else's points, you can't use the dining plan in those cases. So, you know, but it still comes with all the other pros, like the themed hotel, the free transportation, all of that stuff. So something to think about for sure, but also a very affordable way to see some of the more expensive resorts.
Something else to think about that I'm going to throw in because it's a little bit related to staying at a resort is don't assume just because there's package delivery that you can get something delivered to your resort within a matter of hours. Because when you're at a souvenir shop or whatever, you're buying something in the park and you're sending it to your...
Yeah,
I feel like it had to be the next morning.
Yeah, I think they had like 24 hours or something for it to show up and categorize it. And
so if you're planning on utilizing that to not haul things through the parks, just know that you still have to have 24 hours in front of you before you're going to see your item.
Yeah.
So plan accordingly.
So if you're in a Disney gift shop in a park and you buy something that you don't want to carry around all day, you can have them send it to your resort. They package it all up. They put your name on a piece of paper. And then every so often, cast member with a little cart comes around and gathers all the packages from the stores, takes them to the front. At the end of the night, all the packages from the front go to the different resorts. Mm-hmm. So if your kid bought a stuffy that they're going to want to sleep with that night, don't ship it there because you might not see it till the next day.
Right.
But if you have breakable things or heavy things, you know, it's a good option for that.
Yeah.
And I've never had a package like go missing. And I have heard that if one did, you know, if you know what you purchased, they will just send another package to you. So
yes. And keep track of whatever they give you.
Yeah, they give you a little
claim
receipt.
It later. Mm-hmm. I know this is a different park, but I have taken advantage of Universal's version where they do have one where they will also send it to your room, but it's usually a long time frame like that. But you can choose instead, and maybe Disney does this too, to send it to a certain spot. Like they're like, we have a special shop on the boardwalk. We're going to send it there. City Walk. That's what they call it. We're going to send it there, and then you can go pick it up before you go home. You just have to pick it up before a certain time of night.
Yeah.
So we would forward all of our packages to that store on the City Walk and then go pick it up. And we did have an issue last time where we were initially missing something, and I had to find the receipt to prove that I had bought it. So make sure that you're keeping careful track of those just in case something like that happens.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, but it's always great to lug less through the parks.
Yes.
And Disney is a magical place, but there are some non-magical people there sometimes, and it can help you protect your belongings. Yeah.
I'd say that's another thing to be aware of when you're picking a resort is there are some resorts that have much longer walks to the front of the resort than others.
Yeah.
Caribbean Beach Resort was one of those. It was a stop on the Skyliner, but it also, like, a lot of the buildings were very spread out. And we got put in one of the very back ones. Like, we had to walk a long ways to get to the front for the cafeteria and stuff.
And you're already going to walk 15,000 plus steps a day, so...
Yeah, and it was fine for us because we were just two adults. We didn't have our kids with us that time. But I can imagine taking a sleepy toddler and trying to get them to walk all the way or sit in the stroller long enough all the way, like every time you wanted to go refill your resort mug or whatever.
Well, and the last year that we went, I had just had a foot injury. I had special orthopedics and everything, muscle relaxers, the whole 9 yards. And this had happened a month or two before our trip to Disney. And I remember looking at the doctor and being like, listen, I'm about to go to Disney. Am I going to be able to walk around?
Do I need a wheelchair?
Yeah. And I did. I didn't end up having to do any of the special accessibility things or anything like that. But there was one day when we were walking around Epcot that I remember we were headed somewhere to meet you guys. And I was like, I have to stop right now and sit down, or I'm going to have, like, they were foot cramps that just would not let up. Basically, the foot seized up and it just was not great. And so I was like, okay, I have to sit down right now and wait this out for like 20 minutes. But other than that, it was fine. But it is a very big workout.
It is. It definitely is. It's another thing to know, when you're going out of your comfort zone to this place and doing a lot more physically than maybe you do on the average day, plan ahead for that.
Yes.
I always bring clear waterproof Band-Aids and moleskin, because if you get blisters from the back of your shoe, the moleskin will help with that. If you can bring a little baggie of Epsom salts, if you're in one of the hotels that has a tub or a sink you can sit on, you can soak your feet at night, which is very helpful.
That's a good idea.
And Mom always brings a heating pad. And last time we put our feet on the heating pad a few times at night. So that was helpful too.
I'm going to get some out of this.
But just knowing all those little extra things to bring, there's things to keep you cool in the park. They have these special towels, rags that you can get wet and they stay cold and wet. So you can put them on the back of your neck, get the spray water fans, buy them before you come in, because they'll have Disney themed ones that are like 3 times the amount of what they should cost.
Yep.
So if you want a fan that squirts water, buy it before you get there. I think you have to come in with it empty, and then you can fill it at the water fountain in the park.
But Nikki, what if I'm flying into Disney World and I don't know if I can bring things like Epsom salts and all the groceries that I want for that week? What should I do?
You can get it delivered to your resort. So of course there's always been services for that, like Amazon Prime grocery and things like that. But now also, what I meant to tell you, I saw a video the other day where you can do your Kroger deliveries to the resort.
Oh.
Because they have Kroger out there. I know you love shopping at Kroger. So.
I do, because I get all those special deals.
Yeah. So there are lots of companies now that do deliveries. And during COVID, a lot of cast members lost their jobs. And they created a Facebook group called Ear for Each Other. Like here for each other, but ears like mouse ears, ear for each other. And they advertise their businesses. And there are all kinds, including people who used to be chefs at Disney that now do like charcuterie board delivery and things like that for special events. But there are people that will deliver groceries, kind of like Instacart, to you. And they are cast members, so they know the Disney campus. Yep. They don't get lost trying to find your resort. They know where to deliver stuff. And different resorts handle it different ways. There are some people that have it delivered to Bell Services, and you have to go down to get it. There are other resorts, like I think some of the All-Star resorts have lockers. So your delivery will be put in a locker, and then you'll be sent a code to unlock the locker. But you can have stuff delivered, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
So if you want water bottles, plastic water bottles, that you can just walk into the parks with, that are sealed. You can have a grocery delivery done with a big package of water bottles. If you want to eat, my kid gets stuck on having the same breakfast a lot. And when we went last time, it was Pop-Tarts. All day, all night. Pop-Tart, Pop-Tart, Pop-Tart. So I had Pop-Tarts delivered so she could have her regular breakfast, and then I didn't spend money on breakfast too, which was really nice. So
yeah. There's a couple of really good Facebook groups you can join too. And sometimes if someone is getting ready to leave the park and they don't want to take any leftover groceries or souvenirs, or say they had a stroller that, like a cheap one that they just brought and they're not taking it back with them, whatever, they will be like, hey, this is where we were staying. This is where we left all the things. First come, first serve.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I'm in is Ways to Save for Disney. That can also give you some tips, obviously, on how to save up for a Disney trip, how to save while you're at Disney, creative ways to put away money for Disney. Like people, speaking of Kroger, will use, Kroger has fuel points. So like you shop at the store, you earn fuel points, you get cheaper gas. well, let me take that money I was going to spend on gas and buy a Disney gift card. Or Target's got things. There's all kinds of programs out there where you can slowly build up Disney gift cards to use.
Yeah.
And then Smart Moms Planning Disney is another group that I'm in. They often have a lot of really good tips. They recommend travel agents that have been vetted for customer service and making sure that they're reliable and all of that. So if you want to check either of those out, oftentimes when you're at Disney, you might see a post of someone who's leaving things behind that you could then take advantage of if that's going to help your family out.
Yeah. It's also a great place to ask questions if you don't have a travel agent.
Yeah.
Maybe you're in the parks and you're trying to figure something out and you just can't compute it or you can't remember or whatever it is. Go make a quick post and I'm assure you 50 people will answer in like a minute.
And sometimes there's people that get on there and they're like, oh no, I just found someone's little lovey or stuffy or whatever. And I'm hoping that they're in this group. Yeah. Or like someone will get a really good picture of someone getting proposed to or someone's kid in a parade. And they're like, if you're in here, we want to share this picture with you. And I love moments like that.
Yeah. And a lot of cast members are in the groups too, so they can help answer questions. So.
Yeah. So those are very helpful resources for sure.
Yeah.
And if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, whether you're on YouTube or does Spotify do that? I don't know. But there's at least going to be a question and answer section on Spotify. I'll make sure to theme it around this week so that you can drop your comments in there and we can answer any questions that you have. In fact, we could probably address them in future Micky Mouse March videos.
Yeah.
But is there anything else for today?
I think those were the main topics we wanted to hit on. Is there anything we haven't hit on Bethel Resorts? Sometimes it can be really helpful if you're staying for a week or longer to plan one day in the middle where you're not going to be in a park.
The rest day.
Yeah, and you just rest at the resort and you utilize the pool. And they have really nice pools. And most of the pools now also have a bar restaurant outside that you can access. So you can order a little something to eat. If you're an adult, you can get a nice drink.
That's definitely a big thing with me is I always viewed it as I do want to stay somewhere fun, but I realize we're going to spend the whole day in the park. And I think having a rest day in the middle is essential to you and your children's sanity because you'll have a couple of days where your dogs have been barking and you need to get up off your feet. And last time when I go to Disney, I don't necessarily plan on getting into the pool. And the minute Eliana saw the pool, that was her main focus. And I'm like, I wish I had made time for us to spend in the pool. So if you're a family like that, where you want to have that pool time or some beach time or whatever, definitely plan a day where you're just going to have a hotel day because that's probably the only time that you're going to take advantage of that unless you're planning on being real casual about going through the park and just getting to what you can get to no matter what. Yeah. So
lots of really cool park strategies out there. People who are rope droppers, people who are not.
Yes.
I tell you what, my daughter and I are not rope droppers as much as I love to be at Disney and I want to get going. And I still get up pretty early and get going. I have never been early enough for rope drop and I don't care and it doesn't affect the value of my vacation.
I think the one time that we even got close was when you and I went by ourselves.
Yes.
And you were still pregnant and we just happened to have, you can get breakfast reservations that are technically before the park opens. So you go in and you have your breakfast and if you're fast enough, then you can get out and run to a ride when they open the rest of the park.
But I was like hugely pregnant.
Yeah, we weren't worried about that.
And we had, Silas was 3 months old, I think.
Yeah, that's right. I did have Silas with me. We were pushing him around in a little stroller, so.
People were like, God bless you both. I'm like waddling around and she's got a tiny little infant, but they have beautiful places in every single park and it's the first aid and baby care centers. Yes. Get to know them.
Yep. Find out where they are in each park and if you need to cool off or nurse a baby in a quiet room with rocking chairs.
Feed a toddler baby food. You know, they have high chairs, they have rocking chairs, it's all air conditioned.
First aid.
And there's supplies if you are short a diaper or ran out of food or, they have supplies. Yep. And it's right next to the first aid every single time.
One of Disney's best kept secrets, in my opinion. I hadn't heard a word about those until literally a year or two ago. And I really do attribute that to like the Facebook groups because moms will get in and start asking questions and they'll be like, check out the baby stations. And before that, I didn't even know, like Silas was the first kid that I had and he was my third child where I knew about the baby stations. So
Yeah. They're not, I don't think they're hugely advertised, but they're in every park, and
they're a great resource.
Yeah. Magic Kingdom, they're right to the left next to the Crystal Palace, in between Casey's and the Crystal Palace. At Epcot, they're in the World Showcase, in that building now where there's like festival themed foods and stuff. It's like right on the outside of that before you exit into Mexico, basically. Hollywood Studios, I'm trying to remember where that one is. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
I think that was right to the left when you entered the park. It's like before you got into the park.
That might be correct, because that's also near guest services, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Animal Kingdom, I have no idea, because they were all too old at that point.
We used the Animal Kingdom one with Ari, but I want to say it was near the Starbucks, but it's been a while. So, but it's marked on the map. The map is accessible in the app as well, the My Disney Experience app. That app is 1,000,000% necessary these days. You have to know how to use it to make reservations, to change reservations.
Yes.
Lots of good stuff in there. So, but we'll get into like Genie and Genie Plus and Lightning Lanes and all that stuff later.
That's going to be a very involved episode. And one that I'm not going to understand myself a lot before we get into it. That's one of the reasons I didn't Lightning Lane the last time we went. It was like, yes, I already feel like I'm spending enough and I don't need to add. Is Lightning Lane the one that's included or not? Okay, yeah. So we were already spending enough, but I was like, even if I had the money, I'm just too confused and I don't want to do it.
It's gotten better, I'll say that.
But. Yeah, there's been a lot of changes to it over the last couple of years, and I'm really glad that they've made those changes. One of the things when we last went was they were still under some of the COVID restrictions. And so like the kids couldn't hug the characters, anything like that.
We had to wear masks.
We had to wear masks, and there was a lot of changes to how things worked, how lines were going to work, how many things you could reserve for. And now it's just nice that it's been able to open back up a little bit and be less restricted. So
yeah. Yep, for sure. I'd say, if you're thinking about going, Disney resorts are a great value.
Yeah.
There's lots of pros to them. The free transportation, the built-in cafeterias and food service and pool with, themed everything. And
oftentimes the souvenir shops will have, like, say you're walking through the parks and you think about going back to something and then you forget. The souvenir shops are very good about carrying those things that you forgot to go back for.
Yeah, there's a large variety of items in there, so you might see what you've seen in the parks.
Yeah. And that's something you can check out too before you go into the parks. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say another pro is that you get to make your dining reservations earlier than people
That's
who
true.
are not staying on resorts. So that's like a major pro.
Yeah. If you're trying to do Disney on like a super duper strict budget and staying on campus isn't for you, you can still have a great trip. One of my favorite places to stay, and I think it can get confusing because there's two of them. The Lake Buena Vista Holiday Inn, there is another one that they get confused with a lot. It had an Applebee's attached to it. Mm-hmm. It had a great pool, and when we went, we got a really good deal. I only paid $90 a night.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and they did have a shuttle. It was a lot basicer.
Yes.
Like they only run one time to each park each day. So if you miss a shuttle,
right.
But of course you can always Uber if you miss a shuttle.
Yeah.
But
Yep. And there was a lot of things within walking distance too, as far as like you could send an adult to go get like breakfast from a fast food place and walk back, things like that. So there's a lot of different options. I've only stayed at one Disney resort so far, which is Art of Animation, although I plan to change that. So I can't really speak to having a favorite out of multiple resorts, although I do really like the Lion King themed area. And then we took a walk through the Cars themed area, and Jack is into cars, so I think that would be fun to hit up sometime.
Yeah.
But since you've stayed at multiple, why don't you say which was the favorite resort for you?
I've got two versions. So my first version is with my kid.
Oh, that's fair.
Art of Animation was favorite. She loved all the statues. She loved the theming. She's a huge My Little Mermaid fan, and they have a mermaid themed area. And one time we stayed in a mermaid themed room, so that was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But my favorite going on an adult only trip was the Caribbean Beach Resort. It was really themed, really cool. There was like beaches you could sit on with hammocks and stuff.
Nice.
They have a really nice seafood restaurant there that's themed like after Sebastian. And the pool has a hot tub because it is a moderate resort. So hot tub was nice.
Mhm.
A lot of times we would take a break in the middle of the day, come back and sit in the hot tub for a little while, and then go back out for night. So, you know, it depends kind of what kind of a trip you're looking at, really.
Yeah.
But those
That's
are my
fair.
top two.
What is your favorite Disney ride?
Oh, that one is really hard.
I know.
Maybe I'll split it into adult versus kid again. Because on my last trip, I got to ride the new Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster.
How is that?
And I'm a roller coaster girly, and I loved it. So I did single rider because I was with my mom and my kid, and my mom doesn't do roller coasters, and my kid was too little. So I made a Lightning Lane reservation, and while they were eating, I ran off and rode the roller coaster.
Nice.
And it was amazing. But I got very fortunate when they put me in the line. There was a Disney cast member who was also in the single rider line, and she wanted to ride in front, and so they put me with her. So I was in the front seat.
Oh, buddy.
And she looked at me before it took off, and she's like, "This one goes so fast, tears will be coming out of your eyes and you're not crying." And I was like, oh God. And she was right. It was so fast that like tears were streaming like this because my eyes were just watering from the air. Like,
now, if you think
so
back
good.
to the last week of Financial February, maybe you can stand the G-forces to go to outer space.
Maybe I could. But it was fun. It was really smooth. It's a very smooth roller coaster, super fast, super smooth, but you're like in darkness all the time. And a lot of it is like screens with pictures that come up and they spin you different ways. It was great.
It was awesome.
Great. I loved it.
I feel like that can often make something that wouldn't normally be an intense ride more intense too.
Oh, yeah.
I have seen a couple of these rides with the lights up just because I think it's fun to, and you don't see the whole thing, but like a ride will break down and someone's like turning their camera on. And I think it's fun to look around the actual structure of the ride.
Yes.
And that was one of the ones that I looked at and I was like, well, that doesn't look like it would be as exciting. But then when you think about the speed that you're going at and the fact that they do twirl you around,
yeah,
it's like, oh, that's how they do it. All the smoke
cars
and mirrors is
on
great.
the track.
Yeah.
It's great.
I haven't gotten to ride any of the super duper newer ones like the Star Wars, Guardians, or Tron. Tron would be, I want to try Tron. But I tend to really go for the super nostalgic rides. Like if Snow White was still there, I think that would be my favorite.
Yeah, Miss Snow White.
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh is cool, but not as cool as Snow White was.
I think I might have to go with Peter Pan.
That's a great one.
Yeah, Peter Pan is such a good, and it's like, you know, you're not even like super, it's not a thriller ride, but like just going through it and remembering. Same thing with like E.T. at Universal. It's just the nostalgia factor of it. Yeah, I love the Peter Pan ride, and millions of others do too, and that's why it always has a stupid long wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or the one inside the ball at Epcot.
That's a good one too. I love Soarin'.
Yeah.
I'd say, well, we'll probably save favorite memories for another time.
Yeah, we might.
We got to spread out the love, guys.
That's right. Next week, we're going to cover booking. So whining about how it can be hard to book for a Disney vacation. And we're going to cover everything from dining to DAS passes. That's for people who need help with accessibility, things like that. We'll go over, strollers, when to get them, when not to, different events and things like that. So we'll cover all of that next week. Yeah.
But
we've got a lot of content planned for you guys this month, and it's going to make me wish I was at Disney.
I know, right?
But we, as always, you can find us on workingmomswine.com. You can go to patreon.com/workingmomswine if you want to support us financially. We're on TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. YouTube and Spotify. I don't know why I always forget about the most two obvious ones. Where do we put the podcast at?
I mean, if they're already hearing us, they probably know about those two.
That's true. All right. But we
will
will
put your Disney questions in the comments.
Yes, all the Disney questions. Sling them at us. We'll find the answers if we don't know them. And we'll see you next time. Bye.